Okay, you guys, so we are out here. We're at it again. You saw us plant the garden once. You saw that we kind of lost most of our plants with the freeze. So we're out here again. We're going to get the garden planted again with the plants we have left over.
So here we go. One more time. Hopefully this time works.
Okay, you guys, I'm just going to lay this out and then Gary's going to come along and plant it for me. So we got some good looking bell peppers that we didn't have out of the greenhouse, and some other bell peppers that don't look so hot. So we're just gonna put them in here. He'll come along, plant them for us. There. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm just lining up all the cups so that Gary can plant these where I want them. Okay, so what Gary's doing here in our ground garden is just planting a few more plants. So we have a ton of extra yellow squash. I had so much left over from a plant sale. So we're replacing some of the yellow squash that was damaged. And some of the yellow squash that's already here, we're just leaving. So we had one big spaghetti squash that I still had in the greenhouse. So Gary's just making a hole for that so he can put that in the ground. We're down to just this one. So I'll probably try to start a couple more plants, or maybe I'll just direct sow them out here in the garden. But he's getting that in the ground here. So we at least have one spaghetti squash.
More yellow squash. Let me just pull out the dead ones.
Sure, babe. And trying to put some replacements in the back there. He's putting in an eggplant. We did have plenty of eggplant, so we were able to replace any of the eggplant that we wanted to replace, and also any of the yellow squash that we wanted to replace. Now on this side, what we're doing here is we're planting some peppers. So I had already previously laid out the peppers where I wanted to put them. There's a bunch of bell peppers, and he's just going through and planting those bell peppers where I already predetermined that I wanted them. So I'm trying to keep everything together so I can kind of keep the bell peppers together, jalapenos together. I have some Anaheim peppers I'd like to keep together, orange habaneros, some other rare heirloom peppers that I want to keep together. This year I'd really like to save seeds, so that's part of the reason I want to keep them together. Now, typically with things like tomatoes, peppers, you don't have to worry too much about how close they're planted to other plants. But I imagine if the plants are touching and the leaves are kind of close together, then there's some risk of cross-pollination, even with something like a tomato or a pepper plant. So I'm just going to save these seeds for my own use. So I'm not super worried about it, but I am trying to keep things together just so I can do the best that I can to save the seeds, to make sure that the seeds that I'm planting in future years are true to the type that I thought I was trying to save. And as always, when we're working in the garden, it's windy, so just our cups are blowing around, but we have to try to make use of the time we have available. And for us, that is the weekends. And for whatever reason, this past month or so, each weekend just seems to be a super windy day. So we're just working through that the best we can. Gary's continuing to go down this path and get all those pepper plants in the ground. And now he moves over to the okra. So we're planting okra on this back side of the raised beds here and getting that in the ground. Okay, Gary's just finishing up getting all the okra plants in. Here's our audience while we're out here planting. Hi, Noni. Okay, we moved over to this side and we're just getting the beefsteak tomatoes in and the cherry tomatoes. So you guys, one of the things that I think is the best about being out here and working in the garden is you get to see our animals. They all come up here to this back fence and kind of hang out with us. So there's Charlie, the chickens, the goats are out here too. Lola and Emma are just messing around over there. Hi, Lola. Okay, these are our cherry tomatoes that we're planting right here. We're gonna have cherry tomatoes on this side. These are all rainbow cherry tomatoes. So I had a few of the bigger cherry tomatoes that we had started, but of course with the freeze, we lost those. We already had them out here. So we lost him. So what we have left that was started are these rainbow cherry tomatoes. So I don't know what color they're going to be. So we're going to see. We've got 4 of them here, rainbow cherries. And then over here are beefsteaks. On that side, we planted all the okra. And we didn't completely plant this bed yet, but so far on that side over there, we have a bunch of peppers. Okay guys, so we got the bell peppers there. And so we're going to put in this one, which is a hot pepper. And then 1 more bell pepper. And then we have some bell peppers. Then we go to jalapenos here. That's a chili pepper. And then we've got a Carolina Reaper. So we're going to put that there. These are jalapenos, those 2 jalapenos. And we've got 2 ají pineapples. Shishito pepper. We've got 2 of those, one in the back, one right here. And then the 2 red cups right here are both orange habaneros. And then right over here, we have 1 Sugar Rush peach and then 2 Anaheim peppers. So those 2 ought to get pretty big. And then just right over there, we have a bush bean. And right here, we have a little lizard buddy right here. Hi, buddy. We'll let him stay. We won't bug him too much. All right, Gary's going to get started putting some of these in the ground. Well, in our raised bed. He's using this little drill bit, auger bit on his drill to do it. I just typically use the little hand shovel. It's not hard at all to plant in the raised beds. The dirt's really good. Yeah. She's hungry. The geese are over here giving Charlie a hard time. They're hungry too. So they're just walking away, bothering him. And then Mama is over here. You can see her. Let me see if I can zoom in for you guys. So the donkeys are waiting for their dinner. We're about to go feed them. We're just getting a few things planted. But these geese, man, they do not leave Charlie alone. These geese just follow Charlie everywhere, especially the little girl goose. She loves him. It's tough. I split my attention between what we're supposed to be doing and the shenanigans going on around here with the animals. These guys are pretty cute to watch. All right, I'll bring you back over. We'll catch back up with Gary here planting the garden, what we're supposed to be doing. Perfect. My timing is good. My timing is good. I can see one of the weeds coming back up after pulling weeds. So it looks like we're going to be spending a fair amount of time this season pulling weeds if we're going to have any chance of keeping the weeds down. I'm going to get this zucchini watered in. I'm just going to try to water in the things we just planted today. Now it did rain this morning, so the ground out here was relatively wet. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm just planting delicata squash in our very back garden. And I just use my hand to kind of dig like a little trench. It's super windy, so things are blowing around here. We seem to only be able to get windy days on the weekends when we have time to work in the garden. Anyways, I'm just planting our delicata squash. I just made a little trench with my hands. This is a raised garden bed and it's compost, so it's really easy to just put these plants in. I did start all of these delicata squash plants in a tray in the greenhouse. Well, I actually started them in the house under some grow lights, but they've been out in the greenhouse for about a week or so. They're still really small, but I'm putting them out in the garden just to see how they do. I'm putting them up against this cattle panel that I'm going to be using as a trellis. The cattle panel is angled and leans against the fence. I am putting these just a few inches apart, so I'm definitely putting a lot of plants in a small area. We really like this delicata squash, and we want to be sure that we have more this season than we did last year. We want to see if it'll store a little bit longer. We're hoping for that, but we really like it. Okay, let me grab the hose here, you guys, and I am just going to water in some of the tomatoes that I planted in this side of the raised garden bed. So we do have irrigation all set up, and I am going to turn that on so that tonight these get soaked thoroughly. But I just want to make sure that everything we just planted here in the front of this raised garden bed gets watered in really well before I move on to planting more items. Okay, so in this garden bed, what we're doing is we're just cutting off all the stems that have frost damage on it on our zucchinis. So like I said, we didn't have extra zucchinis. We found one extra zucchini that was in the greenhouse. And we want to see if these will survive. So you can see there's a little tiny bit of green on there. So we're just cutting off all the stems that are definitely dead. And I did buy a couple replacement zucchinis while we were at the store. So that's this one here. That one looks healthy. Okay, you guys, I'm out here in the garden again. So I'm out in the backyard garden, and I wanted to show you what I'm working on. So we're here in Northern California, and we are having just like the weirdest weather. So you've seen Gary and I over the past couple of days try to replant some of the plants we lost in the frost. So this is a continuation of that. So I just want to show you what I'm putting out here. So here's 2 Anaheim peppers. I'm gonna go ahead and plant those. These 2 are also Anaheim peppers. This one took on a lot of damage in the frost. I don't know yet if that's gonna make it. And then 1 more Anaheim pepper in the back. A shishito pepper right here, and I believe so is that one. But you can see the one right next to it. It was lost in the frost, so I'm gonna replace that one. I had it in the greenhouse. And this tiny little plant there, if you can see it, is a Buena Mulata pepper. And so I'm gonna put one more kind of next to it because I'm not sure if that one's gonna make it or not. I did find 1 more orange habanero in the greenhouse. So I'm gonna put that in and just replace that one. That's not looking very happy after being frozen. And then I'm gonna put in 1 sweet banana pepper there. Over here in this other garden bin, I'm gonna put in 3 more bell peppers. So I did lose a few bell peppers. I don't think I'm gonna actually take anything out just in case maybe something comes back. But I'm gonna put these 3 bell peppers in, so I'll show you that next. Okay, you guys, so I just did that real quick. I got these in the ground here, and I'm gonna give it a little bit of water just to water them in. It had been a day or two since, well, probably 2 or 3 days since I watered the plants in the greenhouse. So they need a little bit of water, and they should be happy here in the new garden beds. And we're gonna hope that this weird weather doesn't give us another freeze. Okay, you guys, I actually stuck in that extra shishito pepper there. And then a couple extra jalapenos. I snuck those in there. 1 extra bell pepper. It's just starting to rain, so these guys are just out having a good time playing around while I plant the garden, huh, Remington? They're just messing around. Okay, so there's 2 Armenian cucumbers. I found 2 of them. That's actually pretty cool. So those are planted there, the same spot the original, I don't know, 8 were maybe. So we'll see how those do. Hopefully they'll do just fine. Let me show you. I also planted 1 more Roma tomato right here. The 4 Romas are actually doing okay, so just the 1 more right there. So that's looking pretty good. And then I'll show you a couple more peppers. Haluki boy. Okay, so I definitely want to capture where I put these because we're not having good luck over here. So I'm going to put a Carolina Reaper right in there. And then over here to the right, I'm going to put an ahi pineapple. So I'm going to put that in. These are both heirloom. So if I want to save the seeds, then I definitely want to keep track of where everything goes. So I'm going to just hurry up and get those in the ground so I can get out of the rain. Before I get out of the rain here is I also planted these ground cherries. I put them right here in between the Armenian cucumbers and the beefsteak tomatoes in this bed. So I'm super excited for these ground cherries this year. I hope it turns out good. This is the first year that I'm growing these. You guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. You got to watch us over the last couple of days in this video get our garden replanted after the freeze. We still have a little bit more work to do, but we'll get it done, and I'll take you guys along with us while we do it. This is a feral cat in our neighborhood that I've been feeding and trying to baby up so that I can take her to get her fixed. I think it's a her, I'm not sure. All right, thanks guys. See you later.